Hello, how are you doing? Welcome along to FTUK's weekly catch-up live stream. Hope all is well with you, wherever you are in the world, and your trading has gone well this week. My name is Nick Quinn. I'm the CEO of FTUK, and it's good to see you. Another week all done and dusted. It's Friday, and that means we're doing the weekly catch-up, and there's quite a lot to pack into this one, as you would normally expect. But before we do that, obviously, please do go and subscribe to our Discord community that you can see the QR code there in the corner. Go and speak to Reza. He'll sort you out with all the latest offers, as we say every single week. And, of course, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is getting a lot of love at the moment, and it's good to see Forex at forextraders.uk. Just hit the subscribe button, and that always helps us out for sure. Right, let us dig in with what we have got to do this week. We are going to be looking at the weekly payouts review, which is with some really nice payouts this week. Also as well, I'm going to be talking about the 5K instant funding account, because we've got an offer on the website about that, and it's a very, very popular account, and I was sort of was curious as to know why it is so popular. Is it cost, or is it there are other factors? I think there's one or two other things we could talk about it. And then finally, I want to look at the crude oil markets based on one of the quiz questions we had on YouTube the other week. You may remember I mentioned it, and I think some education is required. Okay, so before we get onto all of that, let's start with the weekly payouts. And money goes out of the door every single day, and some of the guys this year have been fantastic. Now, always remember, as I said last week, it's not necessarily the amount that you're getting. Obviously, it's nice when you're getting a big payout, but that doesn't necessarily it's not exactly a barometer of your trading performance. You know, so what I'm trying to say is you could just be having a relatively small payout, but you can potentially be a much more consistent trader down the road. So it's not necessarily just all about the money, but of course, you know, people want to see what the payouts are like. So well done and congratulations to Samuel, who's taken out $559 this week. Congratulations to you. Maria Nitlo, is that Brazilian or something? Spanish maybe? $700. Congratulations to you. Paolo as well, 1,283. Nancy W, congratulations to you, 299, just under $300. And then Eldon M, $2,107. Well done to all of you. It's good to have you with FTUK, and yes, very much so. The amount of payouts is very healthy at the moment, and it's nice to see some of these guys taking things so seriously. People working well with the consistency scoring on instant funding as well. It's really developing some good traders, and that is good to see. That could be you too. All you need to do is sign up to our website, let me see if I can put that on the screen. I have so many buttons. Oh no, I can't do that on this one. Okay, well, never mind. Maybe I'll do that on the next screen. Yes, so let us dig in now, and let's start talking about instant funding. So we've got an offer on our website at the moment about the 5K instant funding, and it's very, very popular. And I wanted to dig into some of the reasons as to why that might be. Just speculate for a moment, because, you know, people think, oh, it's just because it's cheap. Really? If that's the case, then everything should just be cheap if you wanted to make it super popular. But that's not the case. And I'm always curious as to know the reasons why people make the choices that they make, not necessarily just based on price. So if you don't even know what instant funding is, it's what we do a lot of at FTUK. It's what we're known for. We're a specialist in the instant funding model. And that is essentially prop trading, but without the evaluation. You're given that funded account, that account that you can trade that will pay out right from the start, from day one. You don't need to pass any tests, no one-step or two-step. There's nothing wrong with that. But some people do like working in this way, particularly if you're very, very experienced. It's a very fast way of getting access. So you do get a lot of bang for your buck with the instant funding model. Now we do, let me just show you on the website, we do, let me just bring it up here. I've got the right buttons on this one. Yeah, you can see there. You can see that we do on the one step and the two step. You can't select it there, but on the two-step you can select the 10K up to the 100K. But on instant funding, you can also select a 5K account. So we do 5 versions of the instant funding model, and that 5K starts from $119. That is very, very, very popular. I mean, sometimes it's not always the most popular, but it is a very, very popular account that we have on the website. So you've got different flavors of them. They're priced at 100K for $1,499, and then all the way down to this 5K at just $119. So I thought, yeah, this is kind of interesting. Why do people gravitate towards that? Is it just the fact that it's 119, or is there more to it than that? Now, it's actually cheaper than that at the moment, because on the website you can get the 5K for just $70, which is just an outrageous deal. And of course, that it does increase the popularity, as you might imagine, because it's a massive discount. That's going to be there all weekend as well. So it's not going to be here next week. So if you do fancy having a stab and getting involved in it, this weekend is going to be your last chance to do that. The code that you'll need on the checkout is 5K70. So the 5K for $70. Yeah, you see what we've done there. Congratulations to the marketing team on that one. And that will just scale you up to $320,000 if you do get up to that level 7. You know, so there's still a lot of firepower and capacity with that account. So it is cool. But let's look at the comparisons based around some of these different accounts, because you would think that people just make it their decision based on price alone. Now, there's no question when it comes to value for what you're getting per the dollar that you're paying for the account, that it does get more efficient as you scale up. So if you look at this chart here, the 5K is just $119. Now, per $1,000 of funded capital that you're getting on the account, that equates to $23.80, which is a multiplier of 42.02. Now, as you then start to purchase a bigger account, you'll see that cost per $1,000 of the capital starts to come down. So there's no question that as you start to go up the scale, it becomes more efficient for the money that you're paying versus the amount of capital that you're getting access to. So a 100K account is only $14.99. Yeah. So therefore, the 100K account should automatically be the most popular. Well, at the moment, certainly with the offer and everything, that's not necessarily the case. People don't necessarily make choices based on that. Now, that relationship is there, so you're getting more bang for your buck, but it's not necessarily how most people make their decisions. So the higher the capital, the more cost efficiency that you are getting as a trader. But this only really matter to traders who already trust the system, know what they're doing, are confident in their ability, are confident in the prop firm, and confident in their ability to scale and get the payouts and all that sort of stuff. So this is where the price relationship of what someone's willing to spend starts to get a little bit more complicated, because once you put the human being in the middle of it as well, it's not quite as clear cut. So that confidence and the trust in the system is also a key component of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why the 5K is so popular. So let's think about it like this. On a risk to reward mindset basis, newer traders might prefer to risk less up front. Now that makes complete logical sense. So you're not quite sure, maybe you're new to the markets, you're new to FTUK, you're new to prop trading, you're gonna want to dip your toe in the water. That shows you a lot about the confidence level of the people that are getting involved. Now, $119, it's very, very manageable risk. It's a very, very cost efficient. It's not going to cost you too much if things go wrong for you to get involved at that kind of price. And that is how many people are going to see that kind of a price point. So psychologically, it's much more affordable under that 120 mark, and that's going to give you access to that funded account. Therefore, as an account, is perfect for beginners or traders who are curious. They want to test the water, they want to do it in a safe way, get involved in the prop without some sort of a big financial commitment. So these 4 words are really at the heart of what is driving that popularity at that level and that safety of only outlaying a small amount of money. And it's these: risk, trust, curiosity, and confidence. So risk in the sense of your appetite for risk, your trust in the system and the prop industry, and your trust that this is going to work for you. And then also maybe you're curious about the entire process as well. That is going to be a factor. And then your overall confidence in your ability in your strategy, your ability to trade, and how that works for you within the context of trading with a prop community. That in itself is not necessarily just because it's a cheaper account. Yeah, because it's more, as we've shown, it's more cost effective the more up the scale you actually go. But nevertheless, it is there. So the 5K instant funding account is one of our absolutely massive accounts, most popular accounts on the website. And yeah, at the moment, as I said before, you can get access to that for only a flat fee of $70. So it really is worth getting involved. 5K70 is the code that you're going to need on the website if you want to do that. And you've got the next 48 hours over the course of the weekend to do that. Everything will be changing from Monday. Right. Okay. Right. Let's move on. Now, before we get on to talk about crude oil, I just want to give you a brief heads up on something that's going to be happening on the YouTube channel this weekend. We're going to be uploading the interview from one of our traders who got a fantastic payout last week. I think I mentioned it last week or the week before. Jessica, she's a UK trader, a gold trader, and she took over $4,000 out of the market in a payout, and I think that was an instant funding account. I had the chance to speak to Jessica this week, and we've edited that together. That's going to be uploaded on the YouTube channel this week. It's a superb interview, some really interesting stuff. I've got a section now that I will play for you now. You mentioned like consistency a couple of times there. Where's the breakthrough come for you? Is it the structural element that the working with the prop firm has been able to give you, or is there something else that you've managed to repair psychologically that's made the biggest difference?
Having a prop firm with a set of conditions does definitely help, but it's definitely been an emotional, a psychological journey for me, if I'm being completely honest. I think probably a lot of people are in the same position, but I've made all the same mistakes that you go through before you get to the point of like, okay, I need to stop doing this thing because I'm just getting the repeated results that I don't like. So I've been trying to change that over time. It's really hard. I think people don't quite understand how difficult it is to overcome those things. And I think the more you've done them as well, the harder it is to kind of break through it. But I found that I think being a bit more open about trading, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. My partner's very supportive, and also is learning to trade himself. So we can share a lot of the same experiences and also keep each other quite accountable in the process, which is something, trading can be quite a lonely place. So it's nice to be able to have that. And I've just learned to embrace the failure of it and learned that it's not something to be ashamed of, it's something that is necessary to success. So I've had to overcome kind of the feelings of like not feeling good and not being able to do it and all that kind of stuff to get to the point where I'm like, no, I actually can do it. This is not going to be forever.
Yeah, she's a really good trader. I've done so well on gold, and we had a great discussion about what it's like when you're trading and the people that surround you, they don't understand what's going on, because you do go through a whole journey of success and failure, and that's all fine. But then when you're doing it on your own, it's not easy, and that's why trading, it is quite an isolating pursuit, and it does end up being more than just the money. It really does, because it can affect your relationships, your friendships, your family life and stuff like that. And Jessica, she's a professional. She works in a full-time job. She's got a family as well, and she's running all of this around a very, very busy life. And that in itself is something that's very hard to do. So when the market's not treating you well, you can often find your family, they don't understand what's wrong with you. Yeah, so, well, who cares? But it's because it's so integral. It really gets right into the middle of your soul. So she's lucky she's got a partner who's also a trader as well. So that support network is massively important, and that can have an effect on your bottom line. So yeah, it's a really interesting interview. Very grateful to her for agreeing to have a chat, and congratulations on the payout, Jessica. It was good to talk to you. And long may your relationship with FTUK continue. You too as well can join her. I really enjoy speaking to the traders, because everyone's got an individual story. So if you are successful and you do get a payout, we do ask people, and not everybody wants to, but it's always super helpful to the community, and it's good to get some feedback from people as well. So well done to you, Jessica. That interview is going to be on the YouTube channel in the next couple of days. So give it a watch. Okay, right, let's talk about crude oil and the Canadian dollar. Now, this is off the back of something I saw last week. Our quiz questions on YouTube are very, very popular, but I do scan them, and I think we've only had maybe 2 or 3 where the majority of our audience have been getting them wrong. And this one, most people did get it wrong. And the question was, which pair is most influenced by oil prices? The choices were the pound against the Japanese yen, the euro against the dollar, the US dollar against the Canadian dollar, and the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, 44%, the majority, thought that it was the answer was the euro against the dollar, and it's not. Only 37% got it right, and that is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, it's quite rare for so many people to get that kind of wrong, and this isn't nearly 700 people. So that when you get something like that, it's that, oh, we need to talk about that. So that's all I want to do, a very, very brief, and this is not going to be a complicated fundamentals economics lesson, I promise you. And I can talk fundamentals till the cows come home, but this is not going to be like that. I'm going to keep things nice and simple. But I do want to address it, so just for checks and balances to make sure that everybody is in the loop. Now, crude oil and the dollar against the Canadian dollar, they do have a pretty intrinsic relationship, a pretty tight-knit relationship, and it's really because of this. It's because the Canadian economy, Canada is a producer of crude oil, and they are a major exporter of crude oil. It's not like WTI, which is quite light. It's known as being light and sweet crude. In Canada, it's quite heavy and dense, but they are a major oil exporter to the United States. About 21% of US oil consumption comes from Canada, which is massive, yeah, absolutely huge. So there is a very, very core relationship going on. Now, where is the connective point? Well, it's basically this. It's because you can't buy Canadian oil unless you do it with Canadian dollars. Yeah, it sounds so obvious when you say it, but you'd be surprised how many people don't actually think in that direction. If you want some Canadian oil, you've got to get some Canadian dollars. That is where you get one of the core drivers of supply and demand for the Canadian dollar itself. So when supplies are low, and the price of crude, or when supplies are low, that obviously creates more demand for crude oil, and therefore the price of crude oil itself is going to rally. That's very, very important. That's the basic relationship that you need to understand. So this is basically it. So it's worth taking a quick screen grab of this. So when the crude oil is that the supplies are low and there's a lot of demand for crude oil, the price of crude is going to go up. That is going to create demand for the Canadian dollar. It's going to spill over into the Canadian dollar because you need more crude oil coming in from Canada. The Americans have got to buy it from somewhere, and they're going to have to buy it from Canada by converting US dollars into Canadian dollars. That's your demand for the Canadian dollar. Now, always remember, from an FX point of view, the dollar against the Canadian dollar as a currency quote is got the United States dollar on as at the front end as the base. So that therefore means that as USD CAD is going in the downward direction, that is the strength in the Canadian dollar. So that's where it gets a bit complicated for many people that are not used to this. So as crude oil is going up, our Canadian dollar demand should potentially go up as well, and therefore the US dollar CAD should go down. So when you look at the price charts, you'll see that the relationship looks inverse. It takes a bit of time getting used to, but it's not that difficult. And the opposite case happens when there is a lot of demand for oil. So when there's a lot of supply of oil. So the price of crude oil starts to go down. Therefore, you take some pressure off demand for the Canadian dollar. The price of the Canadian dollar should go down. And therefore, dollar CAD should start to go up, because as the US dollar is getting stronger, the Canadian dollar is now starting to get weaker. You see how that works, yeah? It's a very, very, very simple relationship. Now, let me show you this, because there's a bit of inflection in here, because you'll have lots of people that will say, no, that doesn't work, that relationship. Yeah, it is. It's a fundamental driver of how these markets works. You've got to get used to understanding how to see it and interpret it in a price chart. So if you look at this example here, I've pulled one out here. This is just from an hourly chart. You should see, in theory, this relationship on every time frame. But what a lot of people will get wrong is they will look for a direct one-to-one relationship in the price per candle almost, on any time frame. And that in itself is not going to be enough. What you've got to see, or you've got to understand, is that as this correlation moves through time, there's always going to be there's a sort of like a cause and effect relationship. So one of the markets moves and then the other one reacts to that move. That's essentially how that correlation works. It's not always going to be directly one-to-one. So you can see here, this is just on a 1 hour time frame, just randomly selected in the last hour or so. But you can see as the price of crude starts to go down here, the knock-on effect is that weakness in the Canadian dollar as that Canadian dollar starts to just sell off there and dollar CAD starts to go in the opposite direction. And then, of course, as the price of crude oil starts to rally again, you then get that spillover effect into the currency as the currency then reacts, and then the Canadian dollar starts to strengthen and the US dollar starts to weaken. And you see that relationship. So you have one move and then the other. Now, that relationship itself, of which one is driving which, is pretty much always going to stay relatively consistent, but it will meander a little bit. But the key is that once you are tuned into that, you should never really have a problem, because that relationship will phase in and out over time. It won't always be perfect, but you will pick up on it. And if you pick up on that relationship early enough, you'll be surprised how much you can then start to use that as a leading indicator. It's really, really cool. It just takes a bit of practice. So don't necessarily look for a one-to-one relationship. It will you will find that will meander a little bit, but the correlation, the underlying correlation, the fundamentals in the market is definitely there. And then once you're in tune with it, then you should be good to go. It's very cool. Yeah. So yeah, so there's no excuse. I'll rephrase that question. We'll get it posted at some point in the next few weeks and see if more people can get it right. You have been told. Okay, right. Finally, just a quick reminder as well, one more time, if you do fancy getting involved in the 5K instant funding, it's there on the website. The code is 5K70. That's going to be there all weekend. $70, a flat $70 for a 5K account. Superb deal that we've got on FTUK at the moment. But yes, there we go. That's everything that we've got for today. Good live stream. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a fantastic week in the markets ahead, and we will see you all next Friday.